Welcome to the JFK Assassination Do the Math Part 5. In this segment I discuss the sound of the shots and why people reacted to the sounds the way they did, and how the photographs which show these reactions support my placement of the assassins. I will start with the AP photo. When we look at this photo, the people along the sidewalk are smiling and looking at the president, even though clearly there has been at least one shot fired. Now if you believe that this photo is the equivalent of frame 255, then 2 shots have already been fired. And if you believe that, at least one, if not both of the shots were fired from the school book depository building, then the bullets went almost directly over their heads, and that means the full blast of sound from that shot or shots went right over them as well. So why did they not react? The first reason is because the first 2 shots were fired from here, and because of where the onlookers were standing, they heard the sound of the shot or shots at a much reduced level. To see why the sound of any shot would be at a reduced level, we need to look at the trajectory of the bullet. The sound waves from a shot fired from here would travel in line with the bullet, spreading out equally on both sides. For shots 1 and 2, the path of each bullet was in close proximity to the school book depository building. And because the bullets passed so close to this building, a large portion of the sound, almost half, was blocked. This blocked portion of the sound bounced off the school book depository building. Sound that bounces, of course, is an echo. Some of the sound that bounced again off this part of the Altgens building, and some would bounce off the county records building. Then there was the sound of the motorcycles. There were 5 in close proximity to the presidential limousine, 2 in front and 3 just behind. If you've ever been to a parade where they use motorcycles, you know how loud and how much noise they can produce. In Mrs. Kennedy's testimony before the House Select Committee on Assassinations, she stated in part, "You know, there's always noise in a motorcade, and there are always motorcycles beside us, a lot of them backfiring. So I was looking to the left. I guess there was a noise, but it didn't seem like any different noise really because there is so much noise, motorcycles and things." So add in the motorcycle noise to the sound of each shot, the following echoes, and the combination produced some amazing effects. Depending on where someone was standing when the shots were fired, determined how loud the sound was, how many shots one heard, and even the direction of where the shots were fired from. It's no wonder that these people are smiling and unaware of the catastrophic event that had just happened. And all of this was done according to plan, so no one could identify exactly where the shot or shots came from. And the plan was pretty successful. Only a few people recognized that the first 2 shots sounded as gunfire and which direction they came from. And the occupants of this white car were among the few. Look at this white car. Notice that it is completely stopped, and it stopped behind this traffic light. The fact that it is stopped is evidenced by both of the driver's doors being open. How can one tell? Notice that in this frame there is a straight line of white paint from the beginning of the driver's door to the end of the passenger's door. However, in the AP photo, there's a mismatch here and an obvious division between the doors. Why is this car stopped and the doors are being opened? Because the full blast of the first shot, plus the almost immediate echoes, hit the people in this car. They're getting out to see what happened. Now, because this white car is still in the intersection, we can use the Zapruder film to determine when this photo was taken. First, look at frame 133. This is the first frame after Mr. Zapruder turned his camera back on. Note that the president's limousine and vehicle number 2 have cleared the intersection. Also, pay close attention to the distances between vehicles 1 and 2, 2 and 3, and 3 and 4. The distances between these vehicles are approximately the same as seen in both the Mormon and Nix films before the motorcade turned onto Elm Street. Now let's jump back to frame 190. The white car has started turning on to Elm Street, and the presidential limousine, now up to full speed, is quickly approaching this large sign. We last see the white car in frame 191. In frame 192, the white car has disappeared because it's completing its turn. At the rate the white car was moving while turning, I estimate that it completed the turn at frame 195. Now look again at the AP photo. The gap between the 4 vehicles is still about the same as it was before the motorcade started to turn onto Elm Street. If this photo is equivalent of frame 255, the president's limousine would have traveled for 60 frames or 3.3 seconds after the white car completed its turn. At the average speed of 16.5 feet per second, the president's limousine would have moved 55 feet and would be approximately 2/3 the distance from the intersection to the point where the fatal bullet struck. During those 3.3 seconds, the white car was completely stopped. There should have been an additional 55 feet added to the gap between the white car and the rest of the motorcade, but no additional gap is seen. And if this is frame 255, the limousine would have passed this large sign, and it should have appeared in the photo behind the presidential limousine, but the sign is not visible. If, however, this is frame 210, the presidential limousine would have traveled for only 15 frames or 0.8 seconds. That would have only added 13 feet to the gap, which would be difficult to discern at the angle the photo was taken. Also, the president's limousine would not have passed the large sign. Next, let's look at Mr. Altgens' testimony before the House Select Committee on Assassinations. I made one picture at the time I heard a noise that sounded like a firecracker. I did not know it was a shot, but evidently my picture, as I recall, and it was almost simultaneously with the shot. In additional testimony, Mr. Altgens continued to state that he took this photo at the time of the first shot and before any other shots. The sound of the first shot reached Mr. Altgens at frame 210. And that matches the testimony of Governor Connally before the House Select Committee. By the way, neither the governor or his wife ever believed in the single bullet theory. In his testimony, he stated in part, "I do not believe, nor will I ever believe, that I was hit with the first bullet. I don't believe that. I heard the first shot, I reacted to the first shot, and I was not hit with that bullet." For those who think that the governor's testimony might not be reliable because he had been wounded, the governor was a combat-tested veteran of World War II. He was cool under fire. His wife Nellie was also cool under fire. She kept her presence of mind. After seeing both the president and her husband wounded, she pulled her husband back down onto her lap to keep him safe. Her testimony here in part is self-explanatory. I had just heard a disturbing noise and turned to my right from where I thought the noise had come and looked in the back and saw the president clutch his neck with both hands. The second shot was fired and hit my husband. Now let me show you something new about this photo that has nothing to do with the sound, but a lot about when this photo was taken. Look at the president's hands. Notice his hands are clenched. His knuckles are almost touching, and his right hand is about one knuckle above the left. Now look at frame 255. Notice that the president's left hand is above his chin while his right hand remains in the same place. The placement of the president's hand does not match the AP photo. All of this confirms that frame 255 is not the equivalent frame. There are other problems with the AP photo, but time is limited. I'll make another video just about these problems. The people out near the grassy knoll also did not react to the first two shots. They were much further away, which reduced the sound of the shots even more. And those sounds were mixed even more with the motorcycle noise and echoes. Their reaction to the third shot, though, was different. Why? Because the bullet came right down the middle of Elm Street, with full sound of the shot right behind it. One can understand why these people did not react differently to the first two shots, but reacted dramatically differently following the third shot. They could tell a shot had been fired in their direction. Therefore, some people had thrown themselves to the ground in fear. They were in fear of their lives. And the reactions helped prove the shot did not come from the grassy knoll. See these people running toward where the president was hit? People don't run to danger, they run from it. If a bullet had been fired from the grassy knoll, which was directly across the street from these people, they would not have been running toward the grassy knoll and the gunman. And the statement of Mr. Zapruder when he testified before the House Select Committee backs that up. He stood much further back from Elm Street, so he did not catch the full blast of the shot. When asked in which direction he thought the fatal shot came from, he testified in part, "I have no way of determining what direction the bullet was going. There was too much reverberation. There was an echo which gave me a sound all over." The statement is very good evidence that the fatal shot did not come from the grassy knoll. Why? Two reasons. First, it had been almost 5 seconds between the second shot and the third shot. The echoes from the second shot had died down. Second, Mr. Zapruder was standing only about 25 feet to the left of the spot from where the grassy knoll shot would have been fired. This means that his right ear was very close to that spot. If you've ever been to a firing range or gone target shooting with friends, you know that when a large caliber rifle is fired a short distance from your right ear, you have no doubt from which direction the shot was fired. However, if a shot is fired from 300 feet away, which is the distance of a football field from goal to goal, and followed by echoes and mixed in with the sounds of motorcycles, one could become confused about where the shot came from. Add in the stress that Mr. Zapruder had to feel, having just seen the president's head explode, and one can understand his confusion. Thanks for watching.